Major League Soccer is committed to addressing our carbon footprint. Following health and safety protocols, MLS will operate more than 460 matches this season. We've already offset over 26,000 tons of greenhouse gas. That's the equivalent of 39,000 flights from San Jose to Montreal. And we're just getting started. Together, let's live a little greener. Visit MLSsoccer.com/MLSworks to learn more.
From New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental Tire. From Kansas City, I am Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer, David Goss, Charlie Davies. Not starting on the bench. He's in the starting line. I've got the nod from the manager. We're looking for goals, Charlie. We're looking for analysis. We're looking for hot takes. We're looking for the full experience once again. It has been far too long, man. How do you feel to be back? A little pregame interview. Mic's in your face. What do you think?
I love you guys, and I got you covered. Hot takes, analysis, some banter. I got it all.
Yeah, so, man. Make all the promises. Then after the show, you can do the tearful post-game interview after you really come through. That's what we're looking for from you, all right? We're going to talk Chicharito today. You know we are. LA Galaxy. Got my shrine up and rolling. He can thank me for those 2 goals. We do have an interview with Gerhard Struber, the manager of the New York Red Bulls. What's going on with them? Well, they're making big moves. Frankie Amaya for, about $1 million in allocation money from FC Cincinnati. Boom. Frankie finally got his wish. He is headed to Harrison. We'll see if he plays this weekend. New striker for the Red Bulls as well. Patrick Klimala from Celtic, Polish Youth International. We'll talk to Gerhard Struber about that. Young DP. I did not see that.
Yeah.
The news just went official. I had there it is. Yep, I'm seeing it in my email right now.
Oh, it's all happening for me.
Oh, boy. Good Lord. Bunch of big games this weekend, 13 to watch on national TV just to get it out of the way so you know when you're going to set aside time, get that block in your schedule for the family, for the friends, whatever. Friday night, Viernes de Football, Sporting Kansas City, Orlando City, 7:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1. On Saturday, on Univision Turien and on Twitter if you want it in English, San Jose, Dallas, right after that one at 6 p.m. LAFC, Seattle. That's the big one in my opinion. On ESPN, and then Sunday, another national TV matchup. The only one of the day, 5:30. Chicharito and the LA Galaxy hosting the New York Red Bulls. We'll talk about them all and go through our ESPN Plus games, our players to watch. We'll get you ready for week 2.
Make all your plans early on Sunday. Saturday's all MLS. Wire to wire, wall to wall. That's what I've had to tell everyone. Don't talk to me. But then on Sunday, I'm available. Only one game. 5:30, it's a great time. Settles you back in, gets you ready for the week. But Saturday is your day, so make all the plans Sunday morning.
By the way, Apple TV, which I now have up and rolling down here in my soccer cave. I got the 42-inch literally like a 1.5 feet away from my face, and then 2 other monitors, and I get it on all of them. Apple TV and ESPN Plus, you can watch multiple games at one time on the same screen. I'm just saying. It's the hack that you need. Before we get into this, the producer Anders reminder of the day. And I guess I'll just read straight off what he said. Normally I sort of paraphrase here, but if you didn't know, producer Anders really cares about the environment, like any good Seattleite should, of course. He's really excited about what MLS is doing as part of the Greener Goals project. If you didn't know, today is Earth Day, April 22nd. MLS announced a major reforestation project today. The league's partnering with One Tree Planet in the South Pole to protect the Amazon rainforest in Brazil. Head over to MLSsoccer.com, get all the details as well as everything else Greener Goals is involved in. It is hugely important, all of this. Protecting our environment is not just some like fad thing, trendy thing that we should talk about. It is literally the rest of our lives, our children's lives, our children's children's lives, in case you are planning on being a father. I know Charlie and I got that covered, but Dave,
I feel like you guys had enough kids for all of us. There's enough CO2 coming out for
honestly, I feel
group.
Mostly the same about that, by the way. So go check those details out at MLSsoccer.com. Also at the new MLSsoccer.com, Doyle's got his column midweek, packed with Second Spectrum breakdowns, and then Josh Atencio hype just for Anders. Joe Lowry has what we learned from the new coaches in week 1. We're going to ask Struber about that as well. First instant replay of the season is out. Me and Charlie breaking down referee plays. Call-up had Ben Sweat. And in case you missed it, Tuesdays, 11 Eastern on Twitter Spaces on my Twitter account, Andrew_Wiebe. Every single week, Doyle and I are going to be doing these power rankings reaction shows. We just sat in there for an hour and a half, talked to a bunch of people all around MLS, reporters, personalities, what have you, and just sort of reacted to every team's weekend, every team's placement in those rankings. Please come join us, 11 Eastern on Tuesdays. All right, soccer time, Friday, Sporting Kansas City, Orlando, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Fox Deportes. I got people in my mentions asking if I'm going to be in the Cauldron. I will not be, but I will be soon. I will have Cameron there. We just need a better time for 3-year-olds. 7:30 is basically bedtime. But let's just start by saying congratulations to Peter Vermes. Peter Vermes is Sporting Kansas City. Sporting Kansas City is Peter Vermes. I think this is his 600th game involvement in Major League Soccer as player and as coach. I like to think that I've been around for a while here. It feels like I have, but I vividly remember the days of driving down 71 here in Kansas City when I was doing this MLS thing freelance and just being the only reporter at Sporting Kansas City, then KC Wizards trainings, and just trying to milk Peter Vermes of all his knowledge. Like, Peter, tell me everything that you're thinking when it comes to this team, this league, this sport, in this country. So I'd say congratulations to start to Peter Vermes. 600 is crazy, Charlie. Like, you have been in this game. You've played in it. You had a career in it. Good. I mean, 600? And it's probably going to double. Like, when, if ever, is he going to, what would he move on for other than, like, U.S. national team at this point or otherwise? This is his city, his club. He says as much. Yeah. I can't see a scenario where Peter is, at least right now, willingly walking away from that or getting forced out.
Nope, he's not walking away from that. I mean, he built Sporting Kansas City. Just the training facilities. Like, this is his home, and you want to continue to see Sporting Kansas City bring in trophies. And I think what stands out to me is his consistency and his character. I had PV as the U20 youth national team coach. He's an assistant. And I just remember whether he could coach young players. And I remember him like giving me confidence and, instructions on how to impress Ziggy Schmidt, who was the head coach at the time. And then seeing him on the professional ranks on the sidelines, everyone listened to him. They bought into his style and his instructions and his game plan. And you could just see he gave players confidence, but he also held you accountable. And all the players respect that, whether we were playing against PV or, the players in his locker room. So I love everything he stands for. I think he's an incredible coach, but an incredible person as well. So I'm glad to see him on the sidelines, and I hope he stays for a long time.
It's been awesome to watch him. The thing about Peter Vermes that is incredible when you talk about that longevity is the way he's changed as the league's gone along, right? And his ability to kind of bring in a few of the first designated players, whether it hit or not, trying to use that angle and bringing in experienced players. And now as the league has changed, getting younger, getting more possession heavy at times, pressing more often, he has continued to shift. I think SKC is the only team in the league that could roll out a full 11 of homegrowns this season. And you don't think of them that way, but that's the next stage in MLS. And as usual, Peter Vermes is early in that trend and has an idea of how to push it. And Charlie talked about building that training facility, obviously the stadium and what they mean in the area. That's the future of MLS, and Peter Vermes is early on it. And so that's the reason even no one would question him. They're always competitive. He's always engaged. He's one of the best in the game, but he continues to innovate and push this league and his club. And that's why SKC is a model club. For any team that's not in New York and LA, that's the team they come into the league, they go and research, they look at, they want to be. And it's been pretty awesome to watch, and hopefully for a while longer.
I mean, I think that's music to Sporting KC's ears. I know that Peter and I know that the folks like on their PR side get frustrated often at us for not giving Kansas City
because we're used
credit.
to it, right?
Yeah,
they're always
that's the problem. It's like if you're consistently competent, you're always asking for more and more and more and more. And I still think that's where we are with Sporting Kansas City. We're asking for more. They went and signed Alan Pulido. That was sort of the signal of, okay, we understand that MLS is changing a little bit. We know we need to make that big investment. We didn't see Pulido other than off the bench in week one. They got a win in New York. That was a great first game for them. What do we think about the sort of baseline this year with Sporting Kansas City? And I really do think, again, about center backs for them, because that really has been sort of the revolving door, and the will this work, and the are you making the right signings? And if you're not, is it time to move on from Matt Beasler or Ike Opara or whatever it has been over the course of time? You got the new guy, Ismet Miran. You've got Andreu Fontas to start. You got a 2-1 win. Are those guys enough? Like, what are your concerns right now about Sporting Kansas City, or your thoughts, or when you see that lineup come out, what are you going to be looking for on Friday against Orlando City?
Well, for this week, it has to be Pulido back in the starting lineup. came off the bench, as did Johnny Russell week 1. And you talk about center backs, and I think that's fair. But one of the things about New York is they were direct. They played over the top. And these center backs were able to chase everything down. My issue, I think, has been the last few years is what's in front of them and what's the structure. And Remy Walter was the signing to fix that. It was a weird game against New York because it was so direct and so chaotic. So we didn't get to see him in a true natural style of that number 6. And how can he protect them? And how can he help them build? And how can he make their lives easier? But it was the perfect signing for that spot. And so that's the two things I think I'm most focused on for KC coming into this week is Pulido, as you said, is the big signing. He's the ability to take them over the top. Is he healthy? Is he back? And then the other was Walter the guy? Because I think if they get that right, the center backs will fall into place.
I'm a little bit indifferent to that. I think, when you look at Sporting Kansas City, it's the striker position, the number 9. They had to go out and get someone who could not only finish, but also kind of create for others. When you talk about Johnny Russell and, now Kyrie Shelton looks like a player who has been able to develop his game since he left, New York City FC and went over to Germany. And I think he's more well-rounded. I think he has a clear picture of how he can be impactful in the final third. And with Sporting Kansas City, because he's big and strong and he makes smart runs, he can now play balls into space for Pulido, or Pulido drags those center backs out of position and then he makes that diagonal run just like Johnny Russell would. So I think Pulido's health is really what's going to be able to change the game for Sporting Kansas City. And that's what's going to keep teams on their back foot, which then allows Sporting Kansas City center backs to have a little bit more room and the pressure's not on top of them. I think that's when they struggle with this defensive pair. So I think if they can improve with the health of Johnny Russell and Alan Pulido, they're going to be in a good place. And I love what I've seen from Busio. I think his improvement, he looks like he's more in tune with the game. It's not in and out, like he's there consistently and he's looking to get on the ball even when he has pressure. I think that's always the tall tale sign for a young player in Major League Soccer. Do they want the ball when they're under pressure? Or do they only want the ball when they have space or when they're isolated 1v1? If you're a central midfielder, get on the ball. When you have 1 or 2 guys on your back, don't be afraid. Come get the ball. Show that you can command it and you're not going to lose possession. And that's how I think we see them take the next step in their evolution. So I think this Sporting Kansas City team has a lot of upside and potential, but they're nowhere near it right now.
Yeah, I think it's a little unknown. Without Russell and Pulido, it has to be.
I was going to say, though, for this matchup, so we talked about, I think on Monday, they had the most possessions of any team in MLS this weekend because them and Red Bulls basically pressed each other into the ground. This is not the way I think Orlando would play, but without Mauricio Pereira, I think it actually fits them better because they don't have a pure chance creator. And so a game of chaos with openings, I think fits, especially with Seba Mendes and Junior Urso, the pairing, if Uri Rosell's also out again. That fits this Orlando group a little bit more comfortably. Pereira only suspended for 1 more game, so this isn't a long-term thing, but it could be fascinating, and there could be a ton of chances in this game for Orlando here in week 2.
How do you set up if you're Oscar Pareja? Because that is the big question that I'm thinking about right now as you see Pato out. And again, we had Julia Poe on that Spaces on the Power Rankings reaction on Tuesday, and she said from the Orlando Sentinel that, look, Orlando are at least putting out positive vibes on this. It's incomplete information because they're just calling it a lower body injury, but they're saying Pato does not have to have surgery, so that's great news. I mean, I picked him for my newcomer of the year, so please don't let one of my picks after week 1 just go straight down the tubes. But it presents a tough decision because we haven't really seen Mateus Ayas very often for Orlando. I mean, it was natural. Daryl DK took that position over last year. We don't see DK coming back. He just hit the overhead to get another winner for Burnley. I mean, what? So what do? You don't have Pereira. You build around Nani a little bit and Mueller.
I push Nani up high. I push Nani up to the forward position, and I think we also saw
in behind, and then
we also saw
as the midfielder. What?
I would not play with 2 strikers, so I would not pair him with Akindele or put Nani up there by himself, and then solidify the midfield. Bring Pereira in, play more of a 4-2-3-1. With Orlando having so many people not available, I think it's important that you just have structure and stability in the back, in the midfield. If you end up drawing the game 0-0, 1-1, that's still a good result considering you don't have all the pieces. So I think you stick with what got you here from last year. Don't try and change it up and play a 4-4-2 and not play to your strengths, because they don't have a killer striker. They don't have that Daryl Dike who can hold up the ball, run in behind, and score goals for you. So with that being said, play the same sound structure, look to capitalize on set pieces and try and keep possession, but don't stretch yourself.
Okay, as a neutral, I want to see Benji Michel get a shot just for him to get minutes. I don't know that it fits his positioning either, though, as Charlie says. And so if you're not doing it exactly how you want, why not throw Nani in there, maybe make the game a little bit easier for him? And they have depth on the wings. That's their strength right now.
Right.
They've already brought in Vanderwater. They've got Benji Michel as an option there as well. Tesho could play there if he has to. So I could see that. I would go with Tesho because it felt like stretches of last year, he did the job, similar to you talked about Kyrie Shelton. Like, you don't want to go in and say, this is our starter for the year. But you know that if you give them 90 minutes and say, these are the 3 things we need from you, that you can get enough to allow Mueller and Nani to create chances and find openings, or Junior Urso to come in and find openings. So I think there's like a few ways you could play it. I think Charlie's a bit more aggressive, but makes sense to try and spark this team a little bit. And then the other for Oscar Pareja is you've got 5 strikers on this team. So if you show you don't believe in any of them week 2, where do you put them mentally in saying, well, we brought all of you in because we think you can do this job? Daryl Dike is not coming back. One of them will have to be the starter. Pato's not playing 30 times this year. So at some point, you're going to have to use those guys.
Sporting KC Orlando, Viernes de Football, Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, FS1.
I think
Fox
we can guarantee. So we talked about, I don't think we talked about this on the show. Everyone has San Jose as their, like, it's off the rails before you even tune in team. Orlando's my version of that. I think every time you tune in for Orlando, you're going to see something ridiculous. They play on the edge at all times, like mentally. It's like either way, they could either dominate you or lose it, and then the other team loses it, and then you get craziness. So I'm here for any Orlando game. I love the weekend starting with one.
And Fridays tend to be crazy. We know that over the course of time. Saturdays, again, this is the best game of the weekend, I think, in week 2. LAFC Seattle. You have the very top of the Western Conference, Supporters Shield, MLS Cup, all the plaudits. They basically go through these teams, among others. Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's on ESPN, ESPN Deportes. What's up with this comment from Schmetzer, by the way, on Yeimar? Like, I just want to start there because I was surprised to see him. It was shocking to me that he wasn't in a starting lineup when you have 3 center backs. You have 3 opportunities to play there. He was your best center back last year, in my opinion. And Schmetzer said after, coaches' decisions are coaches' decisions. Yep, I understand that, Brian. What happens in the locker room, he said, the training room, the training ground, it's always something I'm not going to talk about. Okay,
right.
Gotcha. Hear that. People who get excited about the first game of the year and lineup choices are not that well educated. Call me an idiot.
Accurate. Sounds accurate.
We're going to need every single player to contribute at some point during the year. That's granted. I respect the people who have a different opinion than me. Didn't sound like it. I know I get second guessed. Okay, let's second guess just a little bit here. You have a 3-man back line.
Boston College, you got something to say down there?
Yeah,
I do.
I guess I'm confused. I think it's actually a huge positive for Seattle that what happened, which is that Xavier Arriaga and Shane O'Neill and Nuhu went out and put a 0 on Minnesota United, who have legit attacking pieces and looked really competent in doing it. There's just a part of me that looks at Yeimar, who I think is a TAM player, and was like, he was the guy that they were saying, okay, this is basically your, not that there ever could be one, a kind of a Chad Marshall replacement, like the old head who comes in, has experience, should be relied upon to play at a top level game in and game out. And you thought that, at least in a 4-man, it was going to be him and Arriaga, but then not to see him in week 1? Like, and then it's not a health thing. He says it's a coach's decision. I guess I'm a little confused.
Well, I think what it comes down to is Coach Schmetzer said everything you needed to know, that it might not be performance, but it might be off the field, whether it's showing up late or not being accountable in training or having poor performances in training, not taking it serious, whatever it is, that's what's preventing him from starting. It's not that he doesn't think he's the best defender, but in order to really gain respect within a locker room, a coach has to make difficult decisions, even if it kind of could take away from a team winning. Obviously, it didn't because they still won 4-0. But I think it's sometimes needed in different instances to say, hey, this isn't a given. If you don't show up on time, or if you're not treating this team and this locker room with the right amount of respect, you're starting on the bench. I don't care who you are or what you've done, or if we won, the Western Conference with you starting in the back and you've won all the tackles and they're great in the air. It doesn't matter. You have to bring it every day. You have to show up. You have to respect your teammates. You have to respect me. And I think that's what it comes down to, because if you're just telling me he's not starting, but he's doing everything he needs to off the field and he's performing in training and he's still not good enough, then there's an issue. Then there's you can't see the talent that you have in front of your eyes. I doubt that's the case. I think it comes from off the field. Or not training well. So it's one or the other. Otherwise, he's on the field. He's the best defender that they have, clearly.
Have you ever been, Charlie, through a situation like this where your coach came out and said, hey, coach's decision, Charlie Davies not on the field? Now, I know that we had interviews here where you literally were grilling. You grilled Peter one time over not playing for the U20s in Siggy? You mentioned that earlier, and I was like, well, I don't know, maybe Peter's advice didn't get through to you, man, because you were not happy about not getting PT. Like, have you been through this? Like, give us a little bit of insight.
Yeah,
and we don't know what happened with Yeimar. He might be doing everything right. We don't know. We're out here, we're speculating because as Brian said, he's not going to talk about it.
I've been through it, and there's so many layers to it. So, going over to Europe as a teenager, I was 19, turning 20 in Stockholm, Sweden. I'm living on my own, and I wasn't eating right. I was eating fast food for like the first 4 months of the year. I'd go and get kebab, or I'd go and get cheeseburgers and fries because I wasn't cooking. I didn't know how to cook. And I just wanted to eat fast. And that was kind of it. And it wasn't until fans called me out and said, it got back to the coach that I haven't been eating right because I wasn't training consistently.
Wait, hold on. Fans called you out? What, you're at the kebab stand and they're like, hey, man, less white sauce, Davies. I see you. You're not 90 minutes fit. Less white sauce.
Literally, I had a fan say, go back home. Go get some pasta.
Wow.
So and how that came to be was I wasn't training well every single day of the week. So I'd have my one great training of the week and I was like, I'm good. I showed that I could score 4 goals in a training, like in an 11v11. So I'm the best striker. I don't really need to give 100% the rest of the week. And then I'll be ready for the game. And the coach wouldn't start me. And so about 6 months into the season, he pulled me into his office halfway through and just said, you need to give me 100% commitment every single day. And don't come in here and complain when you're not in the starting 11. I'll decide when you're ready. So you put your head down and you work every day on being the best version of yourself. And then after training, I want to see you do another extra 30 minutes of just finishing by yourself, just finishing. Here's a bag of balls and just finish for 30 minutes. And by the end of it, you may be starting when I think you're ready. And so from that, or he said, you can go back home. Go to Major League Soccer or go back home, go back to college. And so obviously you're like, yeah, I'm gonna work hard.
But
so,
you don't know how college eligibility works. I can't go back to BC. That's over for me. The ship sailed.
So 3 months in, of me just really just working hard, just training every day. And then he just gave me starts. And I remember the first one was against Helsingborg, and Henrik Larsson was on the other team. I spoke to him before the game. I just said, I've always looked up to you. You're one of my favorite players of all time. And he just said, you just got to keep working. It's all about the consistency and training, and, it's taking care of your body, and you have, all this potential. So you'll get there if you do X, Y, and Z. And I remember being like, man, Henrik Larsson just talked to me. And it was a 0-0 game, but I think I played 90. And then, 2 games later, I score a hat trick to end the season. It was the last game of the year. And, then I took off from there. On the flip side, I get in the car accident. I work my way back. A year and a half later, I come to DC United, and just so thankful that DC, Ben Olsen, Dave Casper, they saw something in me and they gave me a chance. And so, you're always going to be compared to your 2009 version when you're, on the national team scoring all these goals. And so I'm playing catch up with myself. And so from 2011 all the way to the end of my career when I retired, it always felt like I was always being compared to the Charlie Davies of 2009, no matter what I did. So I'd be in training, I could score all these goals and do all these things. And yeah, coach's decision, you're not going to play. You know, you're going to come off the bench today, and just be that spark. And you're just like, oh yeah, but you know, I get the most of my ability when I'm playing from minute 1 to minute 90, especially as a striker, because if you come in in the second half as a sub and the game's frantic and maybe you're down 2-0 and they're just in a blocks of 5, you're not going to get any chances. That's what it feels like at times. And so, you know, it was very difficult. And I was in those situations where you're just, no matter what you do, the coach says, you're coming off the bench. It's my decision. And you get in this rut, and it can be depressing. It can be, you can feel like all the pressures against you, that you're never going to get your chance. You're never going to succeed. And all those negative thoughts just really stick with you. And it's not until you get that one opportunity, or maybe it's one conversation with an assistant coach. Maybe it's a conversation with the leader, the star, the DP, whoever it is. And as I remember the last part of my career towards the end, you know, I had Jermaine Jones being like, just keep training hard. You know, like, you didn't get the shot, you didn't get the start today or the past 2 games, but just keep going. And then, you know, that picked me up. I get my chance, and then I started scoring, and I was the starter for the rest of the year. But, you know, you have those instances where you can be not selected no matter what you're doing to you know, break into the team.
Charlie, I just want you to know, I've seen you working. You are a starter in my heart on this all the time.
Thank you.
You have my trust.
It's difficult, and you know, I even think of Ilsinho with the Philadelphia Union, right? I'm training with him every day. You know, it's literally, I know I'm getting close to the end, and I'm just trying to enjoy every moment I have on the pitch and make sure it's fun. And you see Ilsinho, and he works so hard, and the knock on him is his fitness, right? If we start Ilsinho, he can only give us 60. And Ilsinho's like, I can give you 90. I don't have any injuries. I'm fit. I can play. You know, have me play more of my position, attacking number 10. I can do it. And like, they give him the 10, and he does well. And then they say, oh, you know, not enough defense from you, or not, you know, the work rate's not there. So you're better used as a super sub. And he has to just, like, no matter how well he trains, he can score 10 goals in the game, in a training, and dribble every player every single time he's in 1v1, or even dribble 2 players, but he's not starting. And I was always there to be like, just keep going, you know your thing. And he has that mentality of like, I'm Brazilian, I'm fun, I'm gonna enjoy the game. Like, I'm not gonna let it bother me, as bad as it feels. And I want to play. Every player wants to play. There's not one player that'll say, yeah, I'll sit on the bench all season and I won't complain. It hurts. But he just keeps going and makes sure that whenever he does get his chance, he's going to make the most of it. And so I love when Ilsinho just, you know, whether it's, you know, he gets 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, he makes the most of it, and
he's cooking.
He usually entertains. Yeah.
Always cooking. Look, and Yeimar, to get back to where we were, that was a great sort of aside for people and us to really think about those moments in players' careers and the mental weight that can come with coaches' decisions, because there are only 11 that are going to get that call. And when you're a pro, you all want to be there. That's the point.
And also week 1, right? This is what you've been building for 5 months. And to not get that opportunity in front of fans finally.
But Yeimar was celebrating. You saw him when they scored those goals. He had a big smile on his face. And that's what, if you're a Sounders fan, that's what I'm saying. Like, to have Xavier Arriaga have that moment where he's been a little inconsistent. He got that shutout, and he had a leadership position. That'll build him up, and this is what Schmetzer said afterward to bring it full circle. Quote, it's still early in the year, and I'm trying out different looks. Yeimar's going to play a bunch this year. We're going to rotate some guys. It's nothing guys need to worry about, get upset about. Coach's decision is it. So we'll see what happens this game against LAFC. I thought the 5-man back line, or the 3-man and then the 2 wing backs, whatever you want to say about it, worked really well against Minnesota. That's not groundbreaking analysis. They won 4-0. Now, it worked a lot better in the second half, and I think so much of that comes down to Christian Roldan's like role in the game and connecting things and helping unbalance the other team. How do you think LAFC, Dave, will attack this back line? Do you think Yeimar might get an opportunity, or will they go with what they had because it worked?
Right now, where we stand, if Brian Schmetzer sees something that works, you have to assume he's going to roll it over. We saw it in the playoffs last year. We've seen it over 4 or 5 years. He's not really one who's going to pull someone out because, especially the data is telling him, well, it wasn't as good as you thought it was, blah, blah, blah. They got the 4-0 win, so you'd assume he gives everyone an opportunity there. You know everyone in Seattle loves the width that Brad Smith can give you, but you saw what happened when they tried to push Jovan Jones in as a winger. If it's not your natural position, it's hard. And so I think they're going to stick with the 5-man back line, not just defensively, but because I think that's where they see the best ability to get within the attack without Jordan Morris. So going forward, this is the look you're going to see from this group. And then when you look at LAFC and the opportunity to try and pull this apart a little bit, we don't know if Carlos Vela is healthy. We don't know if Eddie Atuesta is healthy.
Come on,
we don't know if Diego Rossi's healthy.
Carlos Vela is healthy, right? Like he's fine.
He said he was fine in the 22nd minute of the game. That doesn't mean he's actually fine. But all those players, it changes whether they have them or not. One of the things I think can be interesting is Arriaga wants to play out the back, and I think that's one of the ideas for this Seattle team. And so if LAFC can get opportunities to press, that's the best situation for this group. If you look at Corey Baird and Musovski and maybe at Apoku. Wow. I thought Corey Baird really came to life in the Austin game in the second half when they upped the tempo and he started pushing the counter press and really getting after players. And that's where LAFC really started to get comfortable and create opportunities. So if that's what Seattle does, that gives LAFC the opportunity. If not, it's going to sit on these central midfielders. Where can they find the gaps along this back line? Marc-Anthony Kaye and Latif Blessing, they love to pop up in the half spaces. It's not going to exist with those three center backs. So are you able to get triangles out wide to get your fullbacks into space? If not, are you able to play through zone 14 and create opportunities against this team? LAFC can hurt you in a million different ways. That's what makes them great. It just depends on who's on the field.
We might have like a vintage, maybe best on best midfield battle in this game, depending on Nico Ladero. He was not there for week one, but Schmetzer said that he could make the trip to LA for this one?
He said that if he trains well on Friday, he'll travel and they'll check him out for the game. If not, I think they have the Galaxy the next week, which he sort of made it sound like he feels confident he'll be ready for that game.
So then it feels like probably that he's not going to make that trip, or he will and just hang out. If he was there, you talk about Nico Ladero, João Paulo, Christian Roldan up against Atuesta, TBD because he left early for LAFC, Latif, and Marc-Anthony Kaye. I mean, that's just fun in itself. Also, Carlos Vela.
It's the second and third best midfields in MLS.
Yeah, I mean, and then just if you go Josh Atencio, they're the top, according to Producer Anders in the private chat right now. Carlos Vela, Nuhu, that's absolutely one to watch. But, Charlie, it's in week 2. I kind of tease this one as the best game of the weekend. 2 teams at MLS Cup, Supporter Shield, et cetera, go through. How much really should we be taking away from a result in this match, whichever way it goes?
I wouldn't take too much from it. For LAFC, I think they're still trying to figure out what's the best way forward because they don't have a quote unquote number 9. Like they don't have a real hold up striker, number 9 who can, or just a full on poacher, right? Like you got rid of Bradley Wright Phillips, he goes on to the Columbus Crew, and then you kind of have the false 9. And you know how I feel about the false 9. Don't give me that. I don't want.
Charlie just threw up in his own mouth for anyone who's not watching on YouTube.
Danny Mazovsky, someone who runs, puts defenders under pressure, but not a 9. Corey Baird, not a 9. So I think maybe they wait till the summer to invest in a 9, Carlos Vela. And you also know Rossi's a player that they're looking to sell. Atuesta is a player that they're going to sell. What do those reinforcements look like? How do you reinvest in the squad? So it's difficult to, automatically say, LAFC is destined for an MLS Cup or a great run if there's a possibility that most likely Atuesta or Rossi or both of them are getting sold in the summer. And then you look at Seattle, the way they started the year, 4-0 without Ladero, and Minnesota was expected to be challenging for MLS Cup this year, especially after last year, and they made some key additions. You thought players would pick up where they left off, if not improve. Hassani Dotson, and they looked horrible.
So they didn't look horrible, but
they lost 4-0.
In the second half, they looked lost.
They looked horrible for my expectations.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I thought they were going to be just blowing people out of the water. And I thought for the first game without Ladero, they were going to grab the midfield and they were going to put Seattle under constant pressure. That didn't happen. So I would like to say for me, LAFC, if they lose this game, not the end of the world. I think if Seattle loses this game, I think there'll be some questions.
End of the world.
But Nico Ladero is not fully healthy, and he's the biggest part of this team. Rui Diaz, he's just one of the best strikers that this league has ever had. I do
Golden
think
Boot
Seattle.
winner.
I think Seattle has the advantage just because of how they've come off this last game against Minnesota, and now without Jordan Morris, without Nico Ladero, they still show that they can get it done against one of the better teams in the league. And Carlos Vela, with all that uncertainty, is he healthy? Is he not coming off early? I just feel like Seattle have a little bit more heading into this game. But it's going to be a fantastic match, I think, tactically, I think technically. But if Seattle wins 3-0, if LAFC win 3-0, I'm not putting much stock into it.
All eyes on those lineups, by the way, because Diego Rossi failed a fitness test right before the Week 1 game. We'll see if he can get through. If he can, that obviously changes a lot for LAFC. And then Carlos Vela. Was that a mirage? Was that jumping the gun by Bob Bradley? Was there a little bit more there? We just don't know. I still think they should treat him with kid gloves, TBD on that one. Also, on Sunday, I think this is a massive one. It is the game, the matchup that got me really hooked, really passionate about MLS. It's LA Red Bulls. Mine was back with the Beckham 5-4 with Josie and Mathis and JPA and just the nuttiness that was that night at Giant Stadium. I was already in, but that one was like, you're all the way in and you're never coming out. They're doing it again in LA, Sunday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, FS1, Fox Deportes. Hercules Gomez, who we love, we got on Club and Country, another one of those coming out next week, by the way, with Richie Larea. Herc says he's taking the over on 15.5 goals for Chicharito. I mean, that's easy after he scores two. He knocks him off the list, Herc, and you just jump right in, man. I feel you, but I think he was high on him too when we had him on Club and Country, if I remember right, saying that like he really thinks that this is going to be Chicharito's year. I went back with Second Spectrum and fortunate to have access to that platform. I can watch every touch, every moment for Chicharito kind of at the click of my fingertips. He only had 2 shots in this game. Both of them were goals. One of them was a cleanup job. Look, every single goal counts. Not going to denigrate the type of goal it is. And the other was a vintage sort of near post touch and finish. But it wasn't as if, and this was the big question for Greg Vanney, we asked him this, as if it was just some like chance creation party for Chicharito, where they're like, we got this figured out. We know exactly how to feed him. Do you think the over on 15.5 is too soon? And what did you see from Chicharito in game 1, Charlie?
Yes, I would say it's too soon. Goss talked about it earlier. The through ball to Chicharito from Dos Santos, right? It was from Jonathan Dos Santos, plays him in behind. Most strikers in this league will get to and have a 1v1 chance on goal. Chicharito doesn't have the legs anymore, the pace. When I say legs, he doesn't have the pace like he used to get onto the end of that ball and finish. We would have seen that from Chicharito in the Manchester United days, where he had that spark, he had that extra gear. He doesn't have that now. So that's another element that you have to take away from him, right? So there's strikers, and you put them into different categories. Strikers that are just hold-up players, strikers who are going to be creators as well as goal scorers. You have the Robert Bariches of the league who are going to score goals. They like to play on the back shoulder, very dangerous in the box, but not too much involved in making in runs in behind and taking people on 1v1. And then you have players who are kind of Kasper Shabilko, more, around the box, will shoot from all over the place. But also, again, not someone who's going to take you on 1v1. So I think when I look at Chicharito, he's a player that needs a ball at his foot in the box. He's a player that thrives on timing, and which that means he needs to be locked in on your tendencies. The players who take one touch and pass it right on, like the combination between him and Jonathan Dos Santos, he knew exactly where that ball was going to go, and Jonathan Dos Santos knew exactly where Chicharito was going to be, yet he just didn't have the pace to get there. So that's a concern for me, and that's week 1. I just don't know if they're going to get him enough in the box. When I look at the total picture, I don't see it happening where he's going to be available to finish, that many times.
So let me give you this though. They were missing Julian Araujo, who O'Neal Fisher can get forward, but they didn't have opportunities for him. They were missing Kevin Cabral, the young DP, who's a winger as well, who should help create opportunities. And with all of that, maybe if Cabral's there, Sebastian Lletget can drop into midfield. You don't start Adam Saldana, and maybe you start Jonah at the 6. You've got more creativity and ability to build up in that group than the one you saw at Miami. And so you could, going forward over the course of the season, have more ball play in the final third. Because as you're saying, that's what Chicharito needs. He needs the whole team to be higher up the field so that there's chance for him to interchange and find little runs and find little bits of space. The way they played against Miami doesn't fit what he does. They kind of had no choice. It's also week 1. So you'd hope that Greg Vanney's able to build on it. It sounds like Cabral's going to take a little while because he's got to come over, go through quarantine, all of those things to get back in there. I think Julian Araujo was suspended for this one, so he should be back. So it gives you some more options along the outside. But Charlie, at least we know Greg Vanney understands what Chicharito needs versus what it felt like with GBS last year, right? And so then you see late in the game, at least he gives him a partner. He gets the ball into the box a couple times, and Chicharito's able to score where you could see, one, he was fitter to go 90 in this game than he was last year. He probably doesn't even make it to that second goal. And then 2, a manager in Greg Vanney who's like, I can meet you halfway. You're working hard. You're more fit. You're ready to play this year. I can get you more opportunities. So I think there's promise there. It's just not what we saw in week 1, even though he scored 2 goals.
Would you go over on 15.5?
I think I already did. I think we did this in preseason, and I think I did. I think he's going to be healthy. I think he's going to play the whole year with them. I think they've got some better opportunities. I didn't see a ton from Grandsir. That's one that I want to see more from this week. And if Red Bulls press them and there's opportunities in space, what's he like as a 1v1 player? We saw like one big chance or one big moment in open space for him, and he kind of took it down to the corner and didn't look to ever beat anyone and change the game. So I'd like to see more from him, but yeah, I go over on that.
I'm going to say 14 goals he scored this year.
Whoa,
Charlie's going
under?
just under.
12 more goals.
All right. Let me consult
Price is right style for Charlie.
I'm consulting my my shrine
Lock
here. We have an over on the 15.5 from the shrine, direct from the shrine. So he's going to get, we'll see. 5:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1 Fox Deportes. The opponents, the Red Bulls. We have now with us Gerhard Struber. It's an AT&T 5G call to the field. Coach, how's it going?
Good. Yeah, I have a very good feeling. We have a good week behind us. I think we know that we have on Sunday a big challenge for our chest with LA Galaxy, and but I think for us it's at the moment very, very important to make the right steps further in our process, and this is what I can see in the last game and also in the last trainings, and the whole situation gives me the right feeling for Sunday.
So let's take it back a second here, because we want to dig into this team and everything that you're doing, the project itself. But this is our first chance to hear from you, to talk to you. Introduce yourself a little bit to us, to the folks listening, to MLS at large, like as a guy, as a soccer person. What sort of are things that are important to you that you think about on a daily basis?
Yeah, I think at the moment it's very, very important that I give my whole focus and my whole energy in my team, especially from the one side in our identity, and in the other side I have a very close relationship with my players. I think this is right now the big topic every day in my daily business, and when I have some times for other interesting moments, then I drive sometimes in the big city to Manhattan and enjoy the skyline. It's everyone for me a big flash. I come from Barnsley. I live in Salzburg in Austria, I think in small villages or in a small city like Barnsley, and right now I have New York City for my chest, and this is it's a big difference, and but right now I have not so much time. My focus one more time is to bring my team very close together and very quick in our identity, and this is right now the biggest challenge. And also I have so much fun to work with my boys together, and I can see every week that we make the right steps, and hopefully we can show also our supporters on Sunday that we are ready for a massive opponent, and also we can show everyone we make the next step in our direction, what we want.
There's so much talk about Red Bull Global and the organization and these different steps within the whole operation, whether it be the Red Bulls here or in Salzburg or Leipzig or whatever it is. We know Jesse Marsch very well. We know he's now at Salzburg. How well do you know Jesse, and what makes you, in your opinion, a fit for this organization, the style of play that they stand behind? Why are you such a good fit?
Yeah, I know Jesse a long time ago. I think we are very long together in the Red Bull world, and also we play. I was the head coach in Wolfsberg AC, and we play against us, and I think we have always a good exchange, and I think have from the football idea many things in the same direction, and we have always a good exchange in our identity. It's always cool to speak with him. He's a very positive person with a top attitude, and he's a winner. And we can see this normally every week, and it's always interesting to speak with people like him. And and when we speak from the identity, for me, I think I make my big education in football in the Red Bull world, especially in Salzburg, and I have in the end a big conviction with the identity and with all the small and exactly details in our idea, and for me, I think especially the last 2 years give me big experience also in international football. I have the chance to be with Wolfsberg AC in the Europe League, and also I had a very, very good time in Barnsley, and I grow up my personal game idea also with my pro license exam, and also I have a big exchange with other top coaches in Europe. And I think this is for a trainer or for a coach very, very important, that you have always exchange with top coaches, and you are always ready to learn. I think this is very important, and I think especially the soccer in the last few years makes so many steps in a modern way, and you have no time to relax or to sleep. You must be very focused always and learn, and also like a coachable for the next steps, that you are always one step further, like other clubs.
I love to hear that from you, that coaches are always learning. You're never set in your ways. You're never going to stick to a certain formation for the rest of your career. You have to adapt. And so heading into your first full season with the squad, I'm sure you set some goals and objectives, but what's success for you in year one?
I think, first of all, the big success is when I can see in every game the necessary steps in our identity. I think this is, first of all, for me, when we speak about success. In the end, we have, with the club, with the team, a clear vision. This is, we have to play in the next time, or we have to fight in the next time about trophies. This is our big vision. But before we can speak about the goal, MLS Cup, that we have to bring many things in the right direction in our identity. Also, that the team is very close together. We have right now the situation that we have some players not available about visa topics and etc., etc. And we have to create in the next few weeks, few months, a very powerful team with a clear identity, and then when we are ready, when we close together, and then we have the right time to bring the identity in our blood from every single player, then I think we can speak about our goals, and this is to play for trophies. This is absolutely our big vision here at the moment, and I hope we can realize our identity very quick. Then it's clear that we have also in the end always the results what we wish.
So you come in and obviously from last year to this year to get to that goal, you've made a lot of changes. I think we counted 12 roster changes, and obviously, as you mentioned, a big signing coming in, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. What did you see that you were looking to improve, and you and Kelvin Thilwell talked about? What do all of these changes bring to this club?
Yeah, I think for the management here and for me, like head coach, was clear that it's the right time to change something from the roster. Yeah, and right now we can see, we realize that I think we bring players in with the right abilities, with the right skills that they can adapt that what we want in our identity and in our game idea. And I think this is for me always the most important thing. I have players around me, they have the feeling they can realize my football world or my football style. Yeah, and right now we have many players around me. They have a big trust, or they get the big trust from me. We can realize our football idea in the next few months, yeah. And from the other side, yeah, especially from the mental side, that we integrate the new players very, very quick. That they have a good feeling in the dressing room when they come to the training. They have always a good feeling and they have fun. They have fun together to work, and in the end it's a football game. Yeah? And I think we speak so much about identity and tactical things the most important thing is that they have a lot of fun together, and they love to play football, and this is always very, very important.
So Patrick Klimala is the young DP that you guys announced this morning. We'll talk about Frankie Amaya too, but I'm curious, when you talk about those football ideas, and now I'm going into my, I usually will go soccer there. I slipped. What are you saying to Patrick Klimala when you talk to him, when you sell him on the project, to Frankie Amaya? What in what's your elevator pitch, so to speak, about how you want to play and how they'll be a part of the team?
Yeah, I think especially when you have the conversation with two boys, the first, and this is for me, like a coach, always the most important thing. I can feel hungry boys. They are ready for next steps in his career. They are ready to give everything for success. And you can feel they are ready to work very hard. I think my conversation with Patrick in the last few weeks show me he is a player. He needs many support. Of course, he is a young player, but he has skills. They are so interesting for us that he can make our team better from the first second with his skills. And also, he's a humble guy. He is not. He come not from Europe and is arrogant or thinking he is a special one. He's a normal one. But he is a player with the right hunger, and this is what we need here, and not players they earn much salary and they thinking they play for their own. We are, and this is for me very, very important. Teamwork is the most important thing, and I need players around me. They understand to work in our identity together, and yeah, I am very, very happy with the signings, and. Of course, we're looking forward to have Patrick very quick here, and we can hopefully bring him very quick in the team.
You also have one of the most exciting young talents in the league in Caden Clark. He scores a spectacular goal last week. What's his ceiling? You've worked with a number of young players across Europe, across the globe. Where do you see him excelling? What position? And is he destined for RB Leipzig? Is that set in stone, or where do you see him really growing?
Yeah, I think this is a dangerous topic when we speak right now from a big talent. What is his way in the next few years or whatever? And we don't forget Leipzig is a quarterfinal team in the Champions League in Europe. We don't forget it. And I have big trust in Caden. He is a very, very good guy with many big talents in his blood and his brain. But what he needs right now is the right people around him. They help him. They give him the right answers about the big questions for constantly performances every week in the MLS. And this is right now, I think, the big step for him to bring every week a good performance. And then is always normal that many clubs are coming and have interest in Caden Clark. This is normal one, but he must understand, but he understand, and we like a team that we make the next necessary steps here, and then it's always the market open in every direction.
So the other young central midfielder we want to talk to you about is Frankie Amaya. It was a big conversation for all of us. Where would he end up? What would go down with him? You guys brought him in for a lot of money inside of MLS. Why Frankie Amaya for you? How does he fit into your team? What can he bring in New York? What can he show?
Yeah, I think with Frankie is also a very good talent, and we will help him also that he make the right steps in the next time. I can see a very young boy with the right hunger for the next steps, and also he needs help. He must improve many things, especially in our identity. When we in our pressing mode, and he has also from the physical side the right shape and the right condition that he can sprint again and again. And I think this is for him right now a absolutely new challenge. But it's the same like with Caden. We help him, we improve him, we give him the right family feeling. I think this is very important for the young boys. And also we have high standards and high level for professionalism. And I think this is also important that every single player with a talent understand talent alone is okay. But in the end, we need a good mix from the mental side and from the talent side. And then you have in the end success. Talent alone is in the end not enough.
Where do you see him fitting in for you? Like, what's his positionally or role-wise? We saw the diamond this weekend. He's been played sort of out of the 6, more of a defensive role in Cincinnati. I think he thinks, certainly from his college days and his skill set, that he can play further up the field. Where do you see him sort of ideally fitting in?
Yeah, I think he's a center midfielder more in the end, more in attacking. I think he has a very good creativity in dribblings, in passing. He has also, I think this is very important to know, he has so a good break the rhythm feeling. And I think this is he give, I think, my team right now a little bit a different phase with him, and I think he's on the ball, very creative, and we give him also the right space and the right position that he can always have in the end a good success and a good output in his game. And I think this is what he must grow up, that he has also a better quote of assists, a better quote of goals with his abilities. I think he must also improve his game in the last final third, and we will help him in this direction.
I wanted to ask you about one more young midfielder you have, because you have a ton of options, and every week you're going to roll out the lineup, and I think there's going to be a lot of surprises for a lot of different people. And Drew Yearwood, who you know from England, I'm sure, from last year, and a big expectations around him, wasn't a part of the group this week. How far away is he? What is it that kept him out of the team, and what can he be? Because he was a bit of an unknown coming into this league, but the club invested heavily in him.
Yeah, I think Drew is also a talent, a big talent with a big explosion, and from the physical side, he has special weapons. For him, was the last few weeks not so easy. He had the one or other different injury, and right now we work very hard that he come back and he come back always with the right load. I think he's sensitive especially with the muscle situation. But right now I have him here 14 days in the training, and he can train with the team, and I can see also that he make the right steps further in this time, and he's also a big talent with weapons, and he's also for the team a very important player, and also he must learn and improve many things, but right now I am happy with his face, what he showed me in the last few days, and he's also an option on Sunday against LA Galaxy.
Take a big picture for us, Gerhard. MLS, the competition, the coaches, the tactics, the logistics, all these things that make a league, unique. What do you see in Major League Soccer, sort of from this outsider, now insider perspective?
I think it's especially when I speak with people in Europe, and also my picture the last few years about the MLS was always a little bit more in this direction, that the quality, the tactic is not on this level like in some countries in Europe. But right now I'm confronted 5 months with the league, and also with many players in the league, and I watched so many games from the MLS, and right now I have a different picture. I have the picture that we have especially many Americans here in the country. They play with high physical power, and also the South American player give the league, I think, many creativity, and I think the mix in the end, it's show me it's not so easy to handle, and I think more from the tactical side that we can improve many things in the league, and especially when we speak about all the 4 phases in a game, that we have clear ideas and a clear plan, but when I look back, Sporting Kansas, or I look forward with LA Galaxy, I can see many high individual players, and for me, I think especially the 2 clubs with this, I think with the view deep inside, I can see many interesting players with a clear identity, like Sporting Kansas, also a clear identity with LA Galaxy, and I think I have my big picture is at the moment that we must go on our border, or sometimes out of our border, that we can realize the results what we want, and I think this is the big challenge.
That is the challenge. Gerhard Struber, Red Bulls this weekend, Sunday, LA Galaxy headed west. A loss in week 1, trying to rectify, get in the winning circle for you. Coach, thank you so much for joining us, for talking us through what you're working on and these new additions for the club. Good luck with everything. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right, big thanks to Gerhard Struber for joining us. We've been trying to get him for a couple months. Happy to have him to get a little insight into what's happening now with the Red Bulls and what they think this project can become. One of the exciting new coaches in MLS. Red Bulls fans, 401-206-0MLS, extratime@MLSsoccer.com. If you would like to discuss that interview, or perhaps one Ben Bear's work on you on Substack, he's out here cranking it out, let us know.
Or April 30th, Red Bulls 2, home opener. Best team in America,
yeah,
baby.
You've got the voice. You got the voice of 2 right here with you. Let us know. We'll keep it rolling here. San Jose FC Dallas. That one's on Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Univision Tudien and in English on Twitter. We haven't really talked about Dallas because that first game was a little bit of a snoozer. It was a 0-0. We talked about the PK call. Not a snoozer. They weren't sharp. Neither team was sharp. What are your thoughts, Dave, on Dallas? I know you're tuned in on Luchi and what he's up to mostly.
I'm not. Luchi cut me off. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
They came out in a 3, what do we call it, Charlie? 3-4-3. Mm-hmm. That feels good. 3-4-2-1, which there was questions, how do they replace Brian Reynolds? It felt like Hollingshead would do that, and they kind of shifted things a little bit and went with the 3 center backs, more possession, ability to build out of the back. And they have these 2 wingers / goal scorers in Vargas and O'Brien that they're really high on. And you saw it in spots. Vargas looks really good early on in a spot where I thought he would take some time to develop.
I did too.
And they're ready for him to roll. And he scored a bunch of goals in preseason and looks pretty comfortable. The question is with them, 1, can Hara finish, which he didn't last year, and he didn't in week 1. And then 2, what does it look like when they get into the final third creating opportunities? Like we talked about with the Galaxy, what are the patterns? How are they able to create? Riquarte got the start in central midfield in this one. And he has a little bit of that ability if he can get there. Because that's kind of one of the problems with the way they set up is he starts from so deep. He's not the most athletic guy. When does he get into the final third to be a factor and has the play already gone from there? So I thought they were good in week 1. The first half, they were sharp and it was good. Colorado was dangerous as well. Jimmy Maurer was awesome in this game. If he was 4 years younger, I think he would get a shot with the national team the way he's playing and the way he's come on. 32 is a little bit too hard to probably push him in there. But I think it was good week 1 from Dallas, and it shows you, I think, where their talent pool is at. Like they have some depth in central midfield. They have some depth in center back. And so that's what Luchi's leaned into, and giving that width from the wing backs. That's perfect for Ryan Hollingshead. Like you give him that free role, you know he can cover ground, but let him pinch in and get opportunities because he's got Brisson covering him to be more creative and to be more dangerous. Different than the way Brian Reynolds did it, but also kind of fits what he did from left back over the course of the last year and a half.
San Jose is hosting this one. Not what they wanted in week 1 in Houston. Gotta love Cade Cowell getting the start from Tejas Almeida at the 9. He's 17 years old. He was the youngest starter in MLS. There were 8 teenage starters. Can you guys name them from week 1?
Whoa. Luke Singh.
Nope.
He's not a teenager?
Maybe did I miss one?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to go back and do the...
He might not be a teenager. He might be 20.
He might not be. I'm going to have to go back and do the research because I might have missed him on that. Ralph Priso was one. Yeah.
Cade Cowell?
Cade Cowell, I just named.
Yeah, I know. I'm just making sure we got
There's another 17-year-old.
Caden Clark.
Caden Clark. Yeah, you got 3.
Busio,
4. Oh. We had another one on very recently. I had a good conversation with this young man, this young left back.
George Bello. That's 5.
That is 5.
Charlie, feel free to pitch in anytime you're ready here.
Charlie's over here doing some math on a napkin.
Like, get this out of my face. Is Flock? Leon Flock?
Flock is 20. No.
20.
There were a bunch of 20-year-olds that got in.
Love 20-year-olds. Great age, you know. Really
the one that you're never going to get, so I'll just tell you, is John Poolskamp, who turned 20 on Monday, but he started in goal for Kansas City at 19.
Fourth-string keeper.
You were never going to get that one.
No. I'm missing 2 right now.
Yeah, there's a young guy in that Dallas game on the other side that I was shocked that you wouldn't immediately have.
Cole Bassett.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so last
one more that we've talked about.
Give me what day they played on last week.
Friday night.
Okay.
Part of a winning squad.
Josh Atencio.
Producer Anders is a big fan. Yeah. What do you think of San Jose this year? That's the 8. You got him. I have to go back and check Luke Singh now because I feel bad.
I'll go.
San Jose, Charlie, real quick. Doyle's high on them. He thinks they'll be better than last year.
Luke Singh is 20.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll be better?
No. I'm selling.
You're selling the stock.
Yeah, I'm selling the stock.
I mean, I'm buying the stock on this game, though. This is my 22 game to watch. Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Univision Today and Twitter. San Jose, FC Dallas. We'll see what happens up top. I would think that maybe at home that Wando will get that start. He came in for Cal. But they had some issues with chance creation in this game. We'll see if FC Dallas is a better matchup for them. How about this ESPN Plus game of the week? I'll get us started. Minnesota RSL. And I'm doing this one for you, RSL. We didn't get to see you in week 1 on the Power Ranking show. I asked Doyle what he thinks of RSL and their season. He said, God, just let me see them play first. Well, 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night, we will see them play. But it's a tough test at Minnesota, who have to be a little bit frustrated by that week 1 result. Still some issues with them. At center back, DeBasi was and has been very good, but has been out. And we saw those issues sort of exposed against the Sounders. RSL are not going to be as dangerous. Let's just put that out there. I think that's a given. But anytime you get to watch Babelo Reynoso, you should do it. And anytime you maybe have a chance to watch Juan Chope start and you saw the chemistry between them from the jump, that's an absolute must-watch. So I think that's my ESPN Plus game of the week. McCracken hit us up and said, when was the last time we RSL had an opening day bye? No idea, man. You would know better than I. What can we expect from RSL in this game this season? What do you think we might see, Dave?
I don't know. I'm excited to watch them play. I like Freddie Juarez. It was hard because I think I put them last in my preseason rankings, and that's just based off pure talent on the field. But one of the things I forgot that I was reminded of on Saturday, mainly by Montreal, is if you are cohesive and you care and you work hard, you can win games in MLS because teams have so much going on. Midweek games, CCL, Voyagers Cup. You've got teams that sometimes check out because there's higher expectations and it doesn't work. Whatever it is, if you're that group, the big question, which is exciting, I think Bobby Wood will be there, right?
Not available.
Did he get out of his contract?
He did, but I think based on the press release, I think it's still July 1.
Oh, I thought that he was coming into play.
Yeah, I know. You saw him get bought out and everybody got excited, myself included, but I think it's a hot minute for him. So we will see on that.
Well, that would have been exciting. It would be exciting to see him play, but for this team, I think they're going to be better in the back this year. You've just got young guys who have gotten better in Glad and Herrera, who's the guy who's worth tuning in for this group. And then you've got a bunch of young pieces in the attack. The guy they brought on loan from Liga MX, you've got Jason Ramirez, who's a young DP, plus Douglas Martinez, who's been pretty good coming up from Monarch. So there's opportunity there for these guys, and you hope Freddie Juarez can tap into that and maybe play with some energy. Minnesota was disjointed a lot of times in midfield against Seattle. That's something that this central midfield should be able to take advantage of. I just don't know what the look will be like. If Hassani Dotson starts on the wing again, it's going to be rough. If he doesn't, it'll be interesting to see if it's him or Ozzy getting the start over Will Trapp in this one.
Charlie, yours is Philly, Inter Miami, and I went back. This is at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, ESPN Plus. I went back and watched Gonzalo Higuain's debut PK attempt and Jakob Glesnes doing the Fortnite dance in his face. This one has the potential it has a lot of baggage from that moment. I think Higuain has some baggage from his last season and also from losing that game last week. And he got a goal and assist, but there were some moments where you're like, we still want more from you, Gonzalo. This game has a potential for me to be an actual rivalry. That's where on-field rivalries start, right? Is those little scuffles. I'm jacked for this.
I am too. Philly coming home, we know their form when they play in Philadelphia and they play in Chester. They're very tough to beat. I would like to see them go back to their two strikers with Sergio Santos and Kasper Szybilko paired together. They also both play as individuals. They don't really play as a tandem. But because Sergio Santos is always making runs in behind and stretching defenses, and Kasper Szybilko likes to pop up in those holes and the gaps, it allows that number 10, whoever's playing there, which should have been Anthony Fontana and not him playing as a striker, because that didn't allow him to be in his usual spots where he can make those late runs out of midfield. And what we saw from Brandon Aronson, the same thing would have happened for Brandon Aronson if he was played as a striker. Now all of a sudden you're playing against center backs. You have less space. You're marked all the time by big physical players who are kicking you. It's not the same.
But isn't Anthony Fontana a goal scorer and Brendan Aronson's more of a creator?
But he's a 10. Anthony Fontana has always been a 10.
You're the Fontana guy.
He's never been a striker. Okay. So I would like to see him play. Don't poke the Fontana
hive, Dave. Come on.
I would like to see him play in his typical position as a 10, which would, whether you take off Leon Flock, whether you move Montero or Bedoya, and Jose Martinez has been great as the 6 when he's a tough tackler, good on the ball. So I'd like to see Philadelphia lining up in that formation. And then Miami, like you said, Higuain, he's a goal scorer. Get him the ball. My concern is the back line. That's what it was last year. That's what it still is going to be this year. And then in goal, can you have consistency between the pipes? You need a goalkeeper who is going to not only be consistent but make those spectacular saves. I think that's what they need if they want to win an MLS Cup. So it'll be interesting to see how they play on the road for their second game of the year.
Phil Neville, second one every single time. Chance to learn. Dave, what's your ESPN Plus game?
My ESPN Plus game is Colorado versus Austin. We talked about FC Dallas a little. Colorado was really sharp in the first half as well. They had a ton of injuries that they had to deal with. Kellen Acosta playing left back, which sucks to see after he comes off the national team camp and is maybe I'll go to Europe. I got to get in the conversation at the 6 or the 8 for the U.S. national team. And then Robin's like, hey, man, you know what I really could use a favor at? Left back when we go back to Dallas so you can prove that you've gotten better.
Too bad Bobby's not on the show anymore because, good Lord, that is straight out of the handbook right there.
But I liked what I saw from Nomley. Last year, he floated in and out of games. 1v1, he's a killer when he gets opportunities. They played him out wide right. Most of the season, they pulled him in and played him at central midfield because they had to in week 1, and he was engaged, but not as goal dangerous as you'd like to see. So you'd like to see him play a little higher, and Jonathan Lewis has to beat out Andre Shinashiki for that spot. I understand what Shinashiki brings as like a second goal scorer, but he's not a true winger, and he doesn't create opportunities. So he's able to finish them if Rubio creates them, but not create opportunities himself. And I thought they were a little dull over the course of late in that game until Lewis came back in. So for Colorado, this is an opportunity to sort of kickstart yourself. It was a good week 1. Can it be better week 2? And then for Austin, this is kind of the question mark for expansion team. Is like, you're all jacked up. You're locked in for that first game. You're preparing. You know exactly who your opponent is. How will it affect the way you play? You're working on it, all these things. Now, how do you turn around and do it week 2 again, on the road again, because your stadium's not open yet? This is sort of the real challenge. This is where LAFC really shined in year 1. Was in that stretch. They beat Seattle, great, but then they were really good for the next 4 or 5 games. Can Austin do something similar and build on what they did against LAFC?
Still no goal for them in MLS. So somebody still has that opportunity to be the guy, to have the ball, the game
Trivia
ball.
question.
Like, first goal ever. Who would have it? I mean,
I gotta say it's got to be Gerhard Stroud off the bench, baby.
Oh my God! I was gonna say Cecilio Dominguez.
Yeah. Okay, Cecile goal Dominguez.
Okay, all right. Hey, bonus Toronto, Vancouver. We got some transfer rumors. We got some 10s. We got some wingers in Toronto. Dave, fill the people in. I mean, it probably won't happen. We always talk about it and it never does.
But the rumor, which is everywhere, so there's a ton to it, it feels like, for TFC is Yeferson Soteldo, who's a star for the Venezuelan national team. Someone wrote a piece on MLSsoccer.com a few years ago coming out of Copa America saying an MLS team should sign him before he's too expensive.
Just say that you wrote it.
Okay, I wrote it. And now he's too expensive, but he's a stud for Santos. He plays off the left wing. He can goal score from that position. He can create from that position. He's the player that TFC's been looking for 6 years, and they hoped Piatti would be, and he wasn't. He's only 23 years old, so he would be young enough to cover the minutes they need, cover the ground. This is huge for Toronto. And then on the flip side, we've talked about a Vancouver 10 for, I don't know, about 7 months now. They've said they're in for one. And now the rumor that Glass City, who is a great follow out in Vancouver, is Jean Pierre, who was top 5 last year in dangerous passes, chances created, through balls for Grêmio out of Brazil, which is one of the huge clubs in Brazil. He's only 22 years old. They have a DP spot open. Could obviously also be part of this under 22 initiative. They didn't play with a 10 basically in week 1. They've said they're going to sign one. There aren't a lot of transfer windows open right now. Brazil is a pretty good opportunity. It started to become a bit more fruitful for MLS clubs over the last few years. This would be massive for them. It was already good with the win, but this would take the start of their season over the
profile. It fits the profile. You've seen some older guys rumored, and Vancouver fans are like, no, not that. Like 22-year-old out of Brazil from a big club. I think they'll be down with that. Let's get to the mailbag because we're a little bit low on time here. We have from M. Wehrman. What are the odds none of you picked the Golden Boot winner? The field wins it. We did the Golden Boot draft. Charlie, you weren't a part of that Golden Boot draft. It went Joseph Martinez and Alan Pulido to Team Carr, Vela and Rui Diaz to Team Goss, a really good team right there. Zardes and Beric to Team Weeby, and Rossi and Chicharito to Team Doyle. What are you taking? Us, team our picks, or the field?
Goss. Team Goss.
Woo, let's go.
I don't know how Rui Diaz fell. Why didn't I take Rui Diaz over Beric? Like I sold myself on Beric.
I don't know what's wrong with you.
So Charlie, this is the best part. We had a whole conversation about international games, right? So he might miss time for Copa America, World Cup qualifying, and then Weeby goes in and picks Zardes, who might be at Gold Cup and miss like a month and a half of the season as his reasoning for not picking Rui Diaz.
That's troublesome.
Gold, baby.
What do you think? What are the odds the field could jump in on this? Like, how likely is it, or is this it? It's coming.
Is there anyone who's not in these 8 you're saying will win Golden Boot? Is that the question?
Yeah, like who could it be, if anybody?
There's one player that comes to mind, and that's Adam Buxa from the Revolution.
I thought he was going to say Gustavo Bo.
I was betting on one of the two. I was betting on one of the two.
Because what stands out to me for Adam Buxa is he's a striker who finally, I think, got into a rhythm with the team, knowing the tendencies, knowing the league, knowing, how to have success within the Revolution, but also against the opponents. And then you throw in the people around him who can create chances for him, because he's not a player who's going to create chances for himself. He's great in the air. He has a good left foot, but he's a box striker. Carlos Heel, the rise of Tejan Buchanan. If Gustavo Bo, if they're going to play him on the left, I think when he floats in, he's going to draw defenders, so that space opens up for Adam Buksa to make those runs into the box. He's dangerous on set pieces. He's one striker that could really be a surprise this year in Major League Soccer.
Lucas Cavallini, maybe throw it out there. I mean, he'd be a low odds,
but he's also probably a Gold Cup guy and stuff like that, which makes it tough. Can I read this from our emails? We got a lot of good stuff about national team we'll use for Club and Country, but this one from a text, so no name on it, says, so grateful that a 0-0 Atlanta-Orlando game gets a full 5 minutes on the audio podcast. A scoreless draw got more time than 2-2 Nashville-Cincy, 2-1 SKC Red Bull New York, 1-0 the Cascadia game, and a 4-2 Montreal TFC game, as well as a 2-2 Revs Fire game, because we suck. So we talked about some of those teams. I'm sure he'll really enjoy the 25 minutes we did about the two LA sides on this show. Piece of advice for us and for you. On Saturdays and Sundays, send us mailbag about your teams and your games so that we can get it into the Monday show. The Monday shows are packed. There are what is it now? We'd be 44 clubs in MLS. Yeah, so there's a lot of games.
When there's
feel free to
games,
help us.
And we won't put it in the mailbag either. We can put it up in the show. If it helps us tee up a game, it's perfect. So 401-206-MLS at extra time at MLSsoccer.com. Because Anders just wrote, let's close after this email. Let's just give our MLS fantasy play of the week. You have to make it quick, so you got 10 seconds so we can wrap this thing up. Get into our league. We'll tweet the link back out. I had 65 points in week 1. I won a head-to-head matchup. That's positive. It's all about continuing the momentum. So I will get my lineup in. My choice is Josef Martinez. Give me him off the bench against the Chicago Fire, because we know they're going to implode from 70 minutes on. Ooh. 2 goals for Josef. He's back, baby. I'm not actually putting him in my team,
just wants to say something about the father. I'm going to go with Babel Reynoso. We talked about RSL and maybe some weaknesses. He created chances last game. He'll probably have Roman Abola from the start. You're talking about a couple assists there.
Who's your guy, Charlie?
I'm going Carlos Vela at home.
Boom.
The whole
Easy
subbed early. No, it's not. There's all this uncertainty. Is he healthy? Is he not? And getting subbed off at home. Shows up against Seattle, who just won 4-0. The expectations are not you're going to come in and bang a brace. I think he does that.
All right, we'll see. I captained him last week, and I cried in the entirety of the rest of that match after he cut out from Bob Bradley. 3 days of soccer, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, MLS Week 2, all the coverage, MLSsoccer.com, and the MLS app. Check out those national TV games. Give them a watch. Get ESPN Plus set up so you can mainline those as well. We'll be back on Monday to break it all down. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.